Okay guys, welcome back. So you just finished step 1 and now you credit scores, and now you moved on to step 2, building credit. So I'm just going to review a couple things first before we talk about what does it mean to build credit. So just like in last video, we've been talking about credit scores, what it means, how do you get this number, and again, if you look at our notes, what does the credit score mean again? It's just how risky is it to lend you money. Again, if you're considered high risk, it will be harder for you to be lent money, or if you are lent money, you'll get higher interest rates. And again, if you're low risk, you're more likely to get loans for cars, houses, etc., and you're more likely to get interest rates that are lower and better for you. So what I want to talk about now is, again, if we look at our pie chart, so again, 35% of your score is your payment history, 30% is the amount of money you owe, 15% is the length of your credit history, how long you've had credit cards and loans, 10% is new credit, in other words, are you applying for a new credit card or are you applying for a new loan, and then 10% is the types of credit. So again, that is either installment credit, like loans, or revolving credit, which would be credit cards. So then the question is, again, what really hurts your score? So I just want to go through a few steps before I show you a few more things about credit. So, like I said, credit scores fluctuate all the time. So I'm going to give you about 5 things that can really hurt your credit score that people tend to do all the time. Okay? So what lowers my credit score? Okay, so all these things are considered bad, right? So one thing that could lower your credit score is getting a new card. Why will that lower your credit score again? Because now you have a card that is too close to the present, so to speak. Remember, one of the things we talked about is the length of your credit history. So again, the longer you have your accounts open, the more your score goes up. But if you open up a brand new account, you apply for a new loan, or you get a new credit card, it's going to lower your score for a little bit. Not much, because it's only 10%, but like I said, you're going to see a slight dip in the number. Now, what's really going to have a huge impact is a large charge on your credit card. That's a big one. So for example, let's say you have a card with a $10,000 limit, meaning you can only use the card up to $10,000. And let's say you make a very bad decision and you make a purchase for $5,000. Your score is going to drop. And the reason is because this $5,000 is too close to the $10,000. Meaning the bank sees it as, well, you only have $5,000 left to borrow. Now your risk is going up. I'll go over this on Thursday, but I'll say it now too. Usually with credit cards, they say don't charge higher than 30%, but I would even go lower than that. I think never charge 10% on your card. Because think about it, if you're charging only 10%, it's not a lot of money, and you could probably pay that off that month. 30%, it's a little higher. So the point is, like, the more you charge your credit card and don't pay it off in full each month, your score is going to drop. That's exactly what's happened to me all year. Now, what else can do that? Another thing. A missed payment. Remember what we said, payment history is 35%. So if you miss a payment, that's a huge chunk of your credit score, and again, your score is going to drop. Now, this is going to be a weird one, and I know you're going to say, wait a minute, Ramon. God. This is my night. This is every night for the past like few weeks. It's 1 in the morning. Oh my god. Okay. So yeah, missed payments. That's a huge one because again, it's 35% of your score. So yeah, that's simple. Your bill is due on July 1st, and you don't pay it on time. Your score is going to drop in a big way. Okay, so the point is, whenever you have a loan or you have a credit card or a student loan, always make your payments on time. If you make them on time every month, your score will increase over time. And then finally, oh, sorry, the fireworks threw me off. I already said that. Okay. This is a weird one. Because you would think, well, wait a minute, Mr. Mullins, I paid off my loan. Isn't that good? So the weird thing is paying off a loan actually will lower your score for a little bit. Because think about it, what's happened now? You have less credit. So if, let's say, I took out a $25,000 car loan and, next month I pay the whole thing off, I'm happy as hell because now I don't have to pay any more loans, but my credit score will dip for a little bit. Like I said, I know you're probably thinking, that's weird. Shouldn't your score go up? But that's what I'm telling you, that's the frustrating thing about credit scores. Remember what I told you guys at the beginning of this unit. We live in a society that wants you to spend, not save. And I think credit history is the best example of that because, like I said, it's like you're punished a little bit for paying everything off. It's almost like, oh, if you have a little debt all the time, your score is going to be so high. If you pay everything off, well, your score is going to go a little lower. It's just very strange, but that's the way it goes. So yeah, paying off a loan, like a student loan or a car loan, that can lower your score. And then finally, and again, you would think this would be a good thing. Closing your credit card account can also lower your score because once again, you're taking that credit away. So you think, oh, I'm going to be responsible. I spend all the time on my credit card. I'm going to pay the whole thing off and close the account so that I don't spend on it any again. You would think that would raise your score, but actually that lowers your score because now you have less credit out there. So getting a new card, charging a lot on your cards and getting more loans, missing payments, paying off a loan, and closing an account, whether it's a credit card account, a store account, like a Macy's card or something like that. Yeah, all those will lower your credit score. It's not the end of the world. Your score will go back up. But like I said, your score goes up and down. So the question is, well, Mr. Mullins, how do I figure out what my credit score is one day? Well, there's a few ways you can do it. So first of all, these scores come from one of these three companies. So these are what we call credit reporting bureaus, meaning across the country, when banks look at your credit score, they are pulling information that one of these three companies have. TransUnion, Experian, Equifax. I swear to God, they just want to do this every single time I'm trying to speak. Okay, so these are where the banks or any lender are getting the information from. Now, there are two ways you could get your score. Okay? Pretty much every banking app now will tell you what your FICO score is. Now the thing is, like, the score can vary depending on the bank, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. So, for example, I'm going to go to Bank of America. Okay, so let me just bring it up. Okay, so if you look at the banking app, and like I said, Chase, Citibank, all of them have this. It will say my FICO score. So when I click on this, okay, it will tell me where I'm at, 706. I mean, at the beginning of the year it was 815, now I'm at 706, so things kind of suck. And then it will tell you why. And if you notice, it says proportion of balances to credit limit is high. In other words, I have too much on my cards. I just have charged way too much money. And then it says amount owed on revolving accounts is too high. Now, if I go to, let's say, Discover, where I also have a credit card, Discover will give me the score too. So let me sign in. Okay, so on Discover, if I click on Services, if I click on More, actually, you know what? I think they changed it. Ah, here we go. Okay, so if you see here, FICO Credit Scorecard. So when I click on this, notice it says 716. So Bank of America says 706, Discover says 716. The reason those numbers might be different is because maybe Discover checked my credit score last week, but Bank of America checked a few weeks ago. So the point is, if you have credit cards with different companies, Discover, American Express, Chase, and you look at your credit FICO score, they all might say something a little different, but they'll all be within the same range. Now, why does that number matter? It matters is because knowledge is power, and if you go to a bank and you know you have a high score, it gives you negotiating power, right? If you know your score is 800 and the bank says, well, we'll give you a car loan for 6% interest, you can say to them, I don't think so. I have a score of 800. I went to this other bank. They're offering 5% interest. What are you going to do for me? So knowing your credit score can really help you with your negotiating power when it comes to buying a car, getting a mortgage, even with your credit cards, right? If Chase is charging your credit card 14% interest and your credit score is 820, you should call Chase and say, hey, I'm a good customer. My credit score is 806. Can you lower my interest rate for me? Right? And have that conversation. But I'll tell you more how to do that next week. Now, there's another way you could get your... So that's your credit score. But if you want your credit report, hold on, just let the fireworks finish. Okay, so getting your credit score is easy just using your banking apps. Getting your credit report, which gives you more information, is easy but a little trickier. And the reason I say that is because there are a lot of companies out there that offer free credit reports, and guys, they are not free. They usually make it seem like it's free, and then they trap you and they charge you money every month. So I'm going to show you how you get a truly free one. Basically, by law, you are guaranteed one free credit report from the government every 12 months. So if I was to try to do this tonight, I could get my free report, and then I would have to wait 12 more months before I could get a free one again. So I'm going to show you guys how to find that. So what you'll do in Google is you'll type in free credit report, but then notice I made sure the word gov is at the end of that, and I'll tell you why. A lot of companies try, like, do you see this one? Annual credit report, check all 3 scores. Yeah, you want to stay away from those because, like I said, if it's a company, they're going to try to charge you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on www.ftc.gov because it's a government website, get my free credit report. And I'm just waiting for it to bring me to the site. That would be great. Ah, there we go. Okay. So, like I said, make sure it is the government website you're going to. So, answer, you're entitled to one free copy of your credit report every 12 months from each of the 3 nationwide credit bureaus. Meaning, what this does is those 3 companies I showed you, it shows you your credit score from all three companies. See, the reason too that the banks have different scores is because each bank has a partnership with one of those companies. God. Okay. Yeah, so each of the banks has a partnership with one of those companies. So for example, Bank of America, they might have a relationship with TransUnion, so that's generating that score. Whereas Chase, maybe they have the relationship with Equifax. So when I click on free copy of your credit report, it will tell you where to go to get that. So you're just following the links. So you click on visit annualcreditreport.com. Nope, don't want to give feedback. And then you click on request your free credit report, and you might have to fill in some information, but then you'll get it, and it will not only tell you what your scores are, it will tell you how much debt you have. It will tell you a lot of information about like banks looking into your score, or it will tell you whether there was suspicious activity. But like I said, you are guaranteed one free credit report every 12 months. If you want your credit report more regularly, then yeah, you'll have to pay for it from Equifax or TransUnion. The fees vary depending on the company, but like I said, knowing your FICO score and knowing your credit report, it just will open so many doors to you. So that's how you do that. So remember, when you are searching for this, make sure you are going to the .gov site and follow the links. Obviously, none of you have a credit history yet, but you will one day. This is what you're entitled to. Make sure you know it because it will open doors. So with that said, I think I covered everything I wanted in this video, and you should be ready now to read about, sorry about that. You now should be able to read about this in detail in Chapter 1 of Credit for Finesse and Finances. So, like I said, you'll go to the PDF that's attached, read that chapter, and answer that one question, guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Okay, and I will talk to you soon.